What do you tell people to do with their money, how to be aware of money, and how is money used in a similar way as a psychological tool?
Money doesn't really exist, it's a theory. If you look at how the world's been acquired, it's been done by a banking scam where you lend people money that doesn't exist, we call it credit, and you charge them interest on it. And if they don't pay the money back plus interest, then you get their wealth that does exist. You get their home, their business, their land, their resources, whatever. And we've been through a process of banks lending credit, figures on a screen, greatly in excess of what they have as assets, called fractional reserve lending. And then when they can't pay it back, because often the banks have taken actions that have crashed the economy, like in 2008, the banks then get all the things they've lent money on, the real wealth of the world. And what's happened in this process of lending credit, getting the real resources when they can't pay back the credit, has sucked the wealth of the world, the real wealth of the world, into the hands of very, very few people, and left out there most of the rest of the population is something called money. And money only buys anything because we take it seriously. You know, if it's just a piece of paper, and this is the point, it's meant not even to be a piece of paper, it's meant to be purely electronic. And so we have this fresh air money that is worth something because the buyer and the seller believe in it, and only because of that.
COVID-19 will change the market as we know it today, and you better change with it or find another way to make a living. Because the
thing about this money situation is when you go to a bank and you say borrow £50,000, they'll type into your account £50,000 in credit. Where's the credit come from? Here. But you're not paying back £50,000. You're paying back £50,000 plus interest. The interest is never created, only the principal. Because people think that governments create money. Money is overwhelmingly created by private banks issuing credit. That's how so-called money comes into circulation. So, what this means is creating credit for the principal but not the interest, is that at no point is there ever enough money, credit or otherwise, in circulation to pay back all the debt and all the interest on the debt outstanding. So people losing their homes and their businesses and their resources, etc., is built into the system on purpose. Now, when there's an expansion of the money supply, an expansion of money in circulation, Peter paying Paul, that seems, to hide it to an extent. But once you squeeze the money supply, you take money out of circulation, it becomes obvious that there's nothing like enough money in circulation to pay back all the debt. So there's people losing their homes, their resources, their things that they own, for no other reason that there simply is not enough money for everyone to pay back the debt. So what do the banks do? We'll have that. And this has been going on for centuries, and they've hijacked the real wealth of the world by doing this. And the next stage, which is in my books from the early 1990s, is cashless society. I was pointing out, purely by knowledge of what this agenda was, that they were going to get rid of cash. And look at it. Cash is flying out of circulation. Some places like Sweden is almost totally cashless. They're shutting down banks.
The government has stolen $50 billion, and it's up to people like you and me.
Not interact with a bank branch locally with cash. You have to do it online because that's electronic money. And eventually they're going to take cash out of circulation. Why? Because when you go into a store now or anywhere and you give them a credit card, electronic money, and they say, sorry, the system won't accept your card, well, you can still pay cash. But when there's no cash in circulation, your electronic money, which is meant to go to a microchip eventually, when they say the system won't accept your microchip or your card, you have no other means of paying. So whoever controls the system is dictating whether you can purchase or whether you can't, whether you can eat or whether you can't. And the only other alternative to that would be barter. And I'll tell you what the plan is. The plan is to ban barter, to make it illegal, on the basis that they can't tax it. So that's along the line as well.
How does cryptocurrency play into this?
I'm not saying that there couldn't be good things with things like Bitcoin and stuff like that, as long as cash stays in circulation. That's the key. While cash is in circulation, you have other points of or ways of purchase. Once there's no cash and you have only cashless digital currencies, then whoever controls them controls everything. And not only that, they can wipe your bank account. If you're a dissident to the system, as this moves on into more extremes, they can wipe your bank account. And it's just gone. Because all it is figures on the screen. You can wipe figures on the screen in a second. You can, from a central point, crash the entire economy by controlling digital money and digital processes. And the idea eventually, problem, reaction, solution, create the problem and then offer the solution, is to have a gigantic crash, which they will instrument. And then, to overcome the crash, they will propose a totally new economic system of central control to be the solution to the problem they created, which is crashing the economy. And the more control they have over money digitally and electrically, the easier it is.
What this marks to me is the end of the American Empire. Because that's what happened with the end of the Roman Empire. And what happened at the end of the Roman Empire, the leaders of Rome debased the currency. They were taking silver coins and gold coins, they were filing them and melting them and doing all these goofy things. They were fighting wars, we're still fighting wars that we couldn't afford, they couldn't afford, and they started taxing the worker. And back in Roman times, the worker was the farmer or the yeoman. And so the government, those fat asses up there, were just taxing the crap out of the worker. And pretty soon the worker says, why should I work? Because, I've got to just keep giving my money to the government. And pretty soon they called them Roman circuses, so they're the big coliseums, and they were feeding lions, people to lions and all that other stuff. Today we have Super Bowl and the March Madness, and everything's the same. It's the same. Our Federal Reserve Bank, our Treasury, and our government has messed up the U.S. dollar so much that they have to find a way to keep people happy. So the stimulus money they print, everybody says, oh God, it's because they shut the economy down and this and that. Everybody says, yeah, so they're going to give me PPP and all of this stuff. Just remember this, that money comes from the Dutch stuff. And when we pay people not to produce, which is PPP and all that, we're just paying them not to revolt. And that's what happened during the Roman times. And so that's why it's the end of the American Empire, because our money is corrupt, of the American Empire, because our money is corrupt, of the American Empire, because our money is corrupt. So that's basically it. Now, would I take the money? Absolutely. You know, we're talking about don't fight the government, don't fight the Fed, don't fight politics. You know, they're gonna win. But I would convert it into either gold, silver, or Bitcoin. You gotta be smarter than the government, which is not that hard to do. And it's just coming apart right now. And, you know, like, when the Fed talks about stimulus checks, well, the only people that get rich, you know, they get all that money for free. It goes into them via BlackRock, a hedge fund, and it goes straight into Wall Street. And the guys who own Facebook and Amazon get richer. You guys, a small part of it, what they're doing is they're propping up zombies. And zombies are companies that are mismanaged, like Hertz right now is completely bankrupt. Boeing is bankrupt. Cruise ships are bankrupt. Ford's bankrupt. And the Fed, the Treasury, and Wall Street keep propping them up. I've said to your generation, you have more power today with that iPhone than any other generation in history. You know what I mean? That iPhone is a 2007 or 2009 it came out. Man, you guys have so much power to be the best entrepreneurs in the world. So there's a lot of good things happening for you guys, except if you went to school and you're taught by those incompetent school teachers like my poor dad. They're good people, but they haven't got any, as they say in Spanish, no cojones. No cojones. The Federal Reserve Bank is a socialist or a communist organization. But they'll never tell you that. When I was about 25 years old, I started studying this stuff, and the more I studied, the more I felt I needed a shower. You know, I mean, they're just lying to us. When the market crashed in 2020, March of 2020, only 16% of the teachers, firefighters, and police officers' pension was funded. 16%. So they had $16 for every 100 they owed. Wow. So they're covering all of this up, so they want to bring UBI in so they can just mass produce money, and then so they're going to pay people not to work so they can escape.